Hey everybody, it's the OMAD Dad. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, a channel that is dedicated to living the OMAD lifestyle or eating just one meal a day. Are you having trouble seeing some measurable results while on the OMAD plan? Well, today I want to talk about 3 things that may be holding you back from seeing the results that you want to get. This is going to be a little bit of a troubleshooting video. It's going to be impossible for me to troubleshoot every possibility, every potential scenario that could happen that could get you to not see the results that you want. But I believe I have found 3 major components and 3 major culprits for people not getting the progress that they're expecting. First, we have to consider that you are sticking to your OMAD plan every single day, that you're not overeating on your calories, and that you're not having too many splurge days, and especially back to back. So if you are doing all of those things and you are sticking to it and you are being religious with it, and yet you're still not quite seeing any results and you've been putting in some time, well, I want to get in, then this video is probably going to be for you. Here are 3, what I believe are 3 major things that could be altering your progress. Number 1, meal timing is everything. I can tell you that there is no right answer when it comes to when you should have your OMAD meal, and I've done a video on this on my channel about when is the appropriate time to eat, and the conclusion of that was basically that it's got to be whatever works for you. But what I'll say is that at least what I have found is that in order to make this work and to make it easier, you need to develop and get into a set pattern, which means that if you're going to be developing patterns, you should really be eating the same time every single day. If that's an impossibility, then you need to at least be sticking to the same meal time at least 3 or 4 days in a row. One of the issues that I was having is that in the job that I had different schedule every other day at work. So sometimes I would have to go in fairly early to work, and my OMAD would be early morning. And then the next day, my OMAD would probably be more around noontime. And then on my days off, I'd like to have my OMAD with my wife and my family for dinner time. So during the week, I had several times where I was completely changing and altering my OMAD meal times. And what I found was that I would wake up in the morning, and if I were used to having my meal in the morning and I wasn't going to have it in the morning that day, that I would start, as the usual, getting hungry around the time in the morning, and it would be pretty strong and pretty tough to not have a splurge day that day, or to not have a very large window. But I'm proud to say now that I have a much better job, I'm at a newer position where I'm going to have the same schedule every day, and it's going to allow me to come home at night and actually be able to eat with my family at approximately the same time. That's going to be key. Whether you have it first thing in the morning, whether you have it in the afternoon, whether you have your meal at night, is irrelevant. It really has to deal with you really have to consider your lifestyle. You have to make it work for you. Many people are on YouTube saying that you have to have your OMAD meal first thing in the morning. That's the only way it's going to work. And there are some great benefits to that. Yes, you wake up in the morning, you eat, you get it over and done with. The problem with that is that you're limiting yourself to whatever, especially if you have to eat out at all, whatever restaurants are open at around that time, and you're going to pretty much only have breakfast options to choose from, unless you do your own cooking. And number 2, you have to be very disciplined throughout the rest of your day to make sure that you don't have any more food. I always found that what worked best for me is just eating it around midday to about between 12 and 4, picking a time somewhere in between there to have my meal, because I get the fasting benefits from the morning. Just as I start to get hungry, I eat something in the late afternoon, and that usually holds me over until it's time to go to bed, and then I go to bed. My food is somewhat digested, and I'm able to sleep well. I have found that eating at night didn't really put any weight on for me at all, but it made it hard for me to digest my food and to sleep properly, and I would end up, as a result, getting some heartburn issues. So you have to think about that too. But basically, it's whatever that you can stick to consistently. But ideally, Meal timing is everything in the sense that you really want to, the whole point of OMAD is to establish consistency. So if you're having a different meal time every single day, it's going to make it that much harder to stick to the plan. And the harder it is to stick to the plan, the more you're going to cheat or splurge. And from there, you're just going down in a spiral, and you're going to go back to your old habits. So meal timing, don't be afraid to experiment. Don't be afraid to mess around with different times and see what works best for you. Find out what works best for you and your lifestyle, what you can stick with, and keep the same time every single day. That'll help. Number 2, you might be exercising too much. This was another experiment that I did. And again, don't be afraid to take a week or 2 or a month and just experiment with different aspects of this, different times, different meals, different ingredients, different diet regimens. Don't be afraid to do that. Like, it's perfectly okay. I recently talked about on this channel how I wanted to add some lean muscle mass to my body. I mean, as we get a little older, I'm turning 40 this year. As we get a little older, we tend to lose lean muscle mass, and I didn't want to be somebody that was too weak to move around and do anything. And I have 2 little ones at home, and I want to be able to run around and keep up with them in my older age. So I added some calisthenics, and this was great because I could do it pretty much anywhere, and it was free. I didn't have to join a gym, and I was making some really great progress with it, and noticing I was toning up. It was getting stronger and stronger. But one thing I noticed was that it was making me crazy hungry, and I've always had this problem when I had exercise. Whenever I get any sort of exercise, other than normal day-to-day stuff or just going out for walks, I would be crazy hungry, and it became that much harder to fight off the cravings and fight off the need to go and eat something. And I notice a lot of people, I interact with people on social media, I notice a lot of people are really into running long distances or training in swimming or triathlons or marathons or hitting the gym and pumping weights for an hour or 2. And it's great to do those things. It's great to have hobbies. It's great to try and improve yourself in any way that you can. But that's something else that you have to consider too. If you're having a tough time sticking with this, it could be because you're getting way too much activity. I'm not saying that we need to lead a sedentary life, but that's one thing that you have to consider, that if you're going to have some intense exercise, you're probably going to get some intense food cravings. So it's something else to consider. And I know Joe from the OMAD Revolution, whose channel you definitely should check out, has often mentioned this too, that sometimes if you have less exercise, you'll actually see more progress and more weight loss. So that could be something to consider. And then lastly, another major thing that you may have to consider is that for your body type and for you, you may need a specific diet. I've recently been, from my last video, just flooded with emails from people who are saying, hey, I'm diabetic, what about us? Yes, it's great that you can eat whatever you want, and many of you guys do, but we diabetics can't. And there are a lot of people out there who have amazing results and progress because they are doing intermittent fasting or OMAD or some time restricted eating, and they're also going on the keto diet or the carnivore diet, or they're vegan or vegetarian or whatever it may be, or maybe just regular low carb. I'm not against any of these diets. I want to reiterate that. What I'm here to teach is the application of eating 1 meal a day. If you are discovering that eating whatever you want is still causing inflammation in your body, is still causing you to have eczema outbreaks or asthma outbreaks or whatever it could be, or maybe it's not helping you with your diabetes, and you're having an impossibility almost of losing weight, there's a good chance that you may need to have and adopt a specific diet, particularly that of keto, particularly that of carnivore or veganism or what you have to. So experiment a little with that too. I'm not against any of those diets. I've never been against any of those diets. Some channels out there that talk about intermittent fasting really knock keto, they really knock carnivore or veganism. I don't get into that game. My whole purpose here is as I've said, the application of eating 1 meal a day. You have to find what works for you as for food and apply that into your life and eat it. You know, I will say this about all of those diets that I've mentioned. One of the main things that they're trying to do is to get you to eat real food. And most of those diets require you to prepare the food yourself, because many restaurants and many places that you go out to eat, use a lot of ingredients and things that you don't know about, or that really wouldn't fit the framework of being within that diet. So you end up cooking a lot of your own food, which is healthier, and you end up eating real food as far as limiting and cutting out most of the processed foods that you'll find in the stores and in restaurants. That in alone is huge, and that is something to be commended. So whenever you hear somebody pouncing on keto, or pouncing on the carnivore diet, or pouncing on low carb, or pouncing on veganism, the one thing you have to consider is that at least what they are trying to do is get you to eat real food. But if you're having difficulty with OMAD and you've tried almost everything, one thing that you may need to try is adopting a different diet. That might be the last domino to fall. And I know that some people have had the same issue, and then they went on the keto diet, or they eat mostly meat, a very high fat, low carb diet, and it worked for them. Or maybe they went vegan, and that was the switch that flipped for them. But don't be afraid to experiment and give some of these a try. If it doesn't work, you could always try something else. Yeah, just make sure you give it enough time, and make sure you're really monitoring all of your numbers and your progress to make sure that you're not becoming worse off than you were. It's not all about weight loss, and it's about overall health. But sometimes you have to make little adjustments, and sometimes you have to do a little bit of experimenting. There's nothing wrong with that. But to summarize, if you've been doing OMAD for a while, and you've been following me with this, and you just seem to be having no progress at all, try one of these 3 things that I mentioned. Try exercising a little bit less. Try switching your diet if need be, and make sure you have a consistent mealtime every single day. Those 3 things, I believe, if you're really struggling to keep this going for yourself, those are the 3 major things that I think will definitely help you and will probably troubleshoot most of the problems that you're having trying to make this work for you. I hope that was a very helpful video for you today. And if you guys have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them below, or send me an email. I always leave my email in the description box of the videos. If you guys have any comments or questions, I love to see progress and hear about how you guys are doing out there. So don't be afraid to contact me. But that is it for me for today. It's a beautiful day, and I am going to go for a walk and enjoy this amazing weather that we're having here in New England. So you guys have a great day, a great week. Have a very happy OMAD, and be well.